Hello, this is Mitch King with the Monday Evening Daily Stock Report, November 24th. This is the Dow Jones 30 on the daily chart. We've had two big days up. This is Friday morning, November 21st, and then it closed really high, carried through. The president's speech today was really good. He seemed like he had a very calming voice, very confident. I think that's what people like to hear, even though we don't really believe politicians anyhow. He sure sounded good, and he introduced his economic team, so really a credible start the way he's starting off his term, even though he's not inaugurated yet. I think there's a little bit more up on the Dow. I think maybe tomorrow. I doubt there'll be another 400 or 500 point day, and if there is, I'll be all over it on the short side. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ Composite. It has deteriorated a lot more than the Dow stocks. You guys probably know the NASDAQ Composite have four-letter symbols or even five letters, where the New York Stock Exchange and the Amex have a 1, 2, or a 3-digit alphabetical letter. Indexes tend to equalize in time. The S&P 500 should look like the Dow. So I'm thinking that we have another update tomorrow, a little bit, and not as strong as today, and we start going down again and start resuming that pattern. Let's draw that pattern here. And I think we start resuming that pattern. We might get a little bit above this line there on the S&P 500, but the indexes will really look similar. The Dow Jones 30 is stronger because it has some more financials. I think the financials are going to head up a little more tomorrow than other stocks. Maybe a little tomorrow, over $28 on Wells Fargo. Let's look at Bank of America and see how they look. Yeah, we should have a couple points on the Bank of America, and then it'd be really interesting as a short sale. Let's take a look at Goldman Sachs. These stocks are going to be sold into. I'm just very confident of that. Let's take a look at some stocks that I think are really, I'm using as indications as the market's probably done going up for the most part. If we take a look at the large oil stocks, let's take a look at ExxonMobil here, CVX, ConocoPhillips, British Petroleum. I'm not totally convinced that we're going to a new uptrend, but I think we're in the process of bottoming for sure on these oil stocks. Let's take a look at oil itself. There's a big jump today of 10%, although one day doesn't mean a whole lot. I just keep an eye on it, just like I'd recommend you to. Let's take a look at the VIX just for educational purposes. There's that 2 down days, the same 2 up days that we had. You know, it opposes the direction of the market. The VIX goes up when the Dow and all the stock markets go down. Let's take a look at SKF. This is really interesting, and I'll keep an eye on this thing. This has dropped 142 points in 2 days. And remember, I've given a tutorial on the stock options of SKF. I mean, a guy could even short it. It hit 304 yesterday. I'm sorry, on 303. 303.8 on Friday. And I took really good note of that. In fact, I tried to short it. I couldn't find any shares. It's a lot cheaper than buying the put options because the premiums are so high on this ETF. But it's dropped by over 142 points from Friday to today. And I'm thinking if this drops a little bit, I'm going to start buying that. If it goes back, if it drops down to maybe 140s or lower, I'll be really watching this closely tomorrow. I'll have a full-time intraday chart on this one. So for you who are long, you have long positions, I'd consider reducing some of your stock and selling some of your stock tomorrow and Wednesday. I really think we'll be resuming that downtrend for sure by next week. Now that half day after a Thanksgiving or a Christmas, the only 2 half days of the year, tend to be really volatile, usually on the bullish side because there's not all the players are in the market. They tend to be on vacation on a 4-day weekend. So you get a lot of the retail investors, day traders, guys like us, and this group tends to push up some stocks on the upside. And occasionally you see these really wild swings in stocks, just 1 or 2 stocks, and people speculate on those. I don't know if I thought this will happen. But again, I'm feeling pretty strong that we'll have a downtrend next week. And I'm not saying that we'll go to a lower low than these ones that we saw on this Dow, but Folks, we're still in a downtrend. There's no reason to think that we're on an uptrend, and it would take a lot of sideways and upward action to start building a bottom after the damage that we've seen. I'm just trying to warn you not to be into thinking that everything is good with the world in terms of stocks after we've had 2 big days up. I think we're going to have a roller coaster ride, a thriller down drop, downtrend, just like we've been seeing early last week. Start seeing some stocks develop. I don't have any specific recommendations except to be on the alert that we're going to probably peak in the next day or two, possibly as far as next Monday, and we should be well on our way back into a downtrend again. This is that SKF intraday chart today. It's a 3-minute chart of SKF. This is the ultra short financials. It's an ETF. I was telling you earlier that it was dropped from $304 on Friday down to a low of $161 today. I actually went long this stock down here, $163, $164. Got $4 or $5 out of it at the most. But I got a signal there, and if I show you, let's take a look at the MACD on that, just for example. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, okay, here's why I'm pointing this MACD. When I saw this reversal here, this moving average right there, and I don't have the setting on this like this. I'm just stretch this out on the MACD and the stochastics to give you a little lesson here. But when I saw this moving average turn right there and the confirmation by the %K, if we do a crosshair, you'll see that how these line up there. I'm thinking that this stock drops, or this ETF drops tomorrow some more, and I'll be watching this really closely for a potential purchase. Here's the Citibank intraday chart today. We saw that selling off a little bit. This is relatively steeper than most of the financials. It dropped. I sold my stock at I think 610, 612, 605 right in there during the pre-market, and then dropped all the way down to about 530. People start questioning the bailout package as they did, and then all the financials reversed. Had a real nice pop here, and this was the drop and pop that I was hoping some of you guys got on various stocks, but this one was a lot steeper of a drop. Went from 520, dropped to 520, came all the way back to 620. That's almost 20%. That's about 18-19% intraday profit. So on one trade, that's outstanding. Let's take a look at some of the other financial stocks. Here's Goldman Sachs. Real shallow pullback there of a couple dollars. Actually, that's a lot, but relative to how much this stock, it gapped up like I was thinking it would. It opened up around $58, dropped to $55.50, and then went up, $13 straight, pretty much, and before any type of correction. President-elect Obama spoke right in here, and then the market just continued to power up. Let's take a look at Wells Fargo. Same kind of principle. Didn't have much of a pullback. Nice run here. This one didn't have near as big of a run as JP Morgan. I traded JP Morgan today. Sold it long, bought it again, got some of this here, and then I pretty much forgot about it the rest of the day, except I did see these things right here turn down and shorted that, so I got a little bit of that. I wasn't really expecting a big sell-off, but I think this little end-of-day sell-off that we had today will get a lot bigger tomorrow and the next day. Very similar pattern that we've been seeing in these past weeks. That last half hour to an hour, real big sell-off. So look for a nice drop tomorrow at the open and a nice pop. And we really could easily go short on some of those tomorrow. We'll just have to see how that works out. Really hard to tell you any of this during the day on the daily stock report. I'll stop emailing you during the day. It's just too hard to time that. We'll do that during the trading room. You guys have a great day tomorrow, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night.